at it.
Yeah.
Do we have Warwiss today?
No Warwiss.
No.
He's at a conference, I think.
Is it Warwiss or Warwas? Because Brett says Was. Austin says
I think
was.
I alternate.
I say what? Warwiss.
That's
Warwiss.
was sound.
Whatever's easiest to say, it pretty much.
Comes out of my mouth easier.
Warwas. I think I alternate it.
Honestly.
Honestly.
I have a coworker, her name's Charu, and that's not even the right way to say it. It's Charu. How else do
It's a
people say
it's a first name?
That's her first name, yeah.
Okay.
True.
Charu.
That is so true.
True.
Stupid.
Right.
I can't help but make
I'm
my
telling
dad
Adam.
jokes, man.
I'm
Like,
telling Adam.
Yeah, the dad jokes just come naturally. I'm like set up for when I actually become a dad. I'm just gonna drop
You're
them like
ready.
crazy.
I think you're ready.
Welcome to episode 16 of the Vikings Territory Roundtable. I'm joined, as usual, by some of the greatest Vikings minds the internet has to offer. And then me, I'm also here, not including myself in that group. But BJ, why don't you start the show off by giving some shout-outs to your fans, since this is, as we learned last week during our first live episode, that this is actually just the BJ Reidell Roundtable show.
Well, no, it's just me and my guy Sean. We got a nice synergy going. Sean,
You got love from more than just. I think it was Rashawn, and you got love. From
yeah, he
more
said
than
he
just
goes by
Rashawn.
Sean. No, we're working on our chemistry. I'm calling him by the name that everyone else calls him.
Yeah.
Classic chemistry.
You just want to run this thing?
on the same
You want me to just
page.
hand over the reins, and you can go ahead and I can just like that one episode where I just sat around pretending I wasn't actually there. You can just do that again. But no, all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining tonight. We got a lot of fun stuff lined up. We're gonna open up the show talking about our favorite Vikings moments of all time. I thought it could just be something fun to kind of open it up, get the conversation going. Adam was disappointed; he couldn't be here, so I'm just gonna share his really quick. It was the Jared Allen Donald Penn scuffle back in 2012. I'm sure you guys remember. And he wrote this article on it back in 2012, which we were kind of talking about, just kind of dates us and shows how long we've been doing this. But he said it was his favorite moment because it showed how big of a factor the fans can play. So if you guys remember, I think him and Donald Penn got into it and then really got the crowd going. And of course, and I think everyone knew it was going to happen if you were watching that game. Like, you could just see it on Jared Allen's face through the blood coming down his head.
Down his face.
Right, you could tell like he was about to work Donald Penn around the edge. And I don't even what did he do? So he kind of came off the line, and I think he kind of like spun inside or something, and pushed
One
through.
move.
Yeah.
And
It was one move.
yeah.
He just moved by him.
And who was the quarterback?
Josh Freeman.
Josh Freeman.
That's right.
Josh Freeman.
Good old Josh Freeman.
Hey, what
Makes it perfect.
Yeah, and then they slaughtered the Vikings
Doug
Yeah, I
Martin
mean, we
had
still
a-
lost the game.
by a lot.
Smoked.
But it was still a really fun moment. Jared Allen gets the sack. The crowd even gets more crazy, and that was his favorite moment. So what about you guys? Anyone want to open it up with their favorite Vikings moment?
I'll open it.
All right, go ahead, Drew.
I'll open it. Okay. This is going to be a repeat, so I want to get mine first. The Minneapolis Miracle, Brett Favre, Greg Lewis. This was 2 days after I had 2 days after I had hernia surgery. So I'm laying there on the couch watching this game.
I didn't know you had hernia surgery. Did you say that when I had my hernia surgery? How many people here have had hernia surgery? Because I know Adam had his hernia surgery.
I didn't know we shared these things. Like,
Well, you're sharing it on to everyone now. So I mean, I feel like
You're just yelling at me for getting off on tangents? What?
Hold on, it's part of this. Did he re-injure his hernia celebrating? That's my question.
I did. I was in pain. That's what I was going to get to.
Sorry,
I was jumping up and down. I was 14 years old at the time, so
right,
I was jumping up and down all over the place, running outside, and then I realized I was actually really in pain, and then my wound was acting up after that. So that's my story. It was a great time, and it was painful, but it was worth it. So that's my favorite Vikings.
I feel like I ruined your story.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And it was just interesting because because I had the surgery
like talk about hernia surgeries instead of the Vikings. So.
Right. Well, all right. I won't talk about it.
HerniaSurgeryTerritory.com.
That's right. We're branching out. All right. So we got the Favre to Lewis touchdown at the last minute. Who's next?
I mean, I'll just do mine because that's mine too. So
you kind of made a face.
I made a face because I knew right away because he knew because we already talked about this on the show that was my number one. So he jumped out in front and said his so that I would be a repeat.
All right,
we're consciously did that, and I knew that.
We're gonna make we're gonna make you come back and give another one if once we go through everyone else's because you can't just say.
I can give you the breakdown of like the moment for me. It's different than Drew. I didn't have hernia surgery or anything like that.
Then I don't care. I don't care what you have to say if you didn't have hernia surgery.
That's a good point.
Sam, go ahead.
That was probably the most exciting play I've ever seen, but my favorite one, sentimentally, was the Randy Moss to Mo Williams flip. I was at that game in the Metrodome, sitting in the nosebleeds with Mike Hafler because he had tickets. And it was extremely exciting, and nobody really knew what was going on because you don't see that type of thing too often. And so that will hold a special place in my heart.
Well, and it was probably...
Was that this?
Hold on, what's the update? We got an update just now.
Twins update?
Twins won.
Twins won. No one cares.
Nice.
Viking show.
Hey, Sam, was that the season where the Vikings started 6-0?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was, right?
We don't need to talk about what happened after that. They started 6-0.
It was a great 6-game run.
So the first time we started 5-0 in the playoffs. Only team to do that twice. Fun fact.
Yep.
Oh.
Real fun. Thank you.
You guys did something good.
Sorry,
Sam. So for that game, where were you in the stadium? Were you at? You had good seats, nosebleeds?
No, nosebleeds. They were terrible. It was behind the. It was like in the end zone, way up high. That's the only time I've been like in the end zone in the nosebleeds. But I remember still being able to see it. You know, I probably couldn't tell who was who.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is if you could even kind of discern what was happening on that play.
Well, you know Randy. I mean, Randy's a larger-than-life presence, so you kind of know no matter how far away you are when he's got the ball. And then, yeah, it was like, what is he doing? And we were all very excited. Very exciting time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Sean, what about you? What? You always laugh when I transition.
Yeah, for sure.
I make it difficult for you to transition, and I do that on purpose.
What's a better transition word I can use, BJ?
Now the transition will be like, oh yeah, I remember that too. You know, okay. Oh, Sean, now.
But I'd already asked a follow-up question.
Or just don't even follow up. Just go straight to Sean.
I'm just thinking of how.
Just go.
I'm literally thinking of how I respond to Drew when I'm mocking him.
Okay.
When I say something like, "All right, sure, dude."
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I laugh.
Anyway, my favorite memory is Chris Carter's 100th touchdown catch. Was there with my dad, my brother, and my grandpa. So, pretty special moment to be there. Best seats I think I've ever had, too. 5 rows up, 50-yard line.
Was it against the Lions? Was it that game?
How did you land? Don't even remember the opponent, but just remember Carter going and grabbing that.
The opponent is not important in this memory.
Okay.
He's my favorite Viking, so.
Yeah. He was kind of mine for a while too, I think, when I first started off, but then Randy quickly supplanted him. So, and I think, going to mine involves Randy. I think it was the disgusting act. And I know it wasn't, I don't know, it just spoke to me, I think, at the time. Something about being a teenager, kind of that teenage spirit. And, Randy's mooning the Green Bay fans, your biggest rival, and Joe Buck is going crazy, and he's disgusted. And it's what prompted our disgusting act T-shirt. I just happened to be wearing it tonight. Complete coincidence. But no, I think that's probably my favorite moment. And
that was funny how appalled Joe Buck was by a fake moon.
So over the top.
Yeah.
Well, and we all came to know. And I think you were talking about it today on Twitter, Drew, or yesterday or something like that, about Green Bay fans mooning players of the opposing team as they come into the stadium. So, that was kind of the backstory that a lot of people weren't aware of. And, so that was kind of Randy's retribution. And Joe, I don't know, maybe Joe Buck didn't know, or maybe he didn't matter, but he's always kind of, he's an idiot. Yeah, well, that
That's what he does.
For the record, I like Joe Buck a lot. I think he's really good at what he does. I think he's a lot better than what people think.
I am actually with Drew. I think that he's so good that people want to find a reason that he sucks. Because he's kind of cheesy. Like, I get that. And there are things he does.
Well, and he says so many good things about Aaron Rodgers, but like, it's because he's
he's got some man crush on
Aaron Rodgers is really good. So
he's always at Green Bay. Like, they always send him to Green Bay like every week.
He had the Packers down his throat when they were down by 40 against Atlanta. I tweeted his quotes because they were so brutal. He could not, like, dude, come on.
He does love Aaron Rodgers.
He's trashed the Packers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a bad broadcaster, but he's terrible with the Packers.
No argument here. I've made fun of him for it many times.
And I think that kind of contributed to his disgust with Randy, obviously, is his love for the Packers. Mm-hmm. But kind of a shameless plug, because we haven't done this before on the show. We have, as you guys know, a bunch of Vikings t-shirts that we sell at Vikings Territory. They're really easy to get on Amazon. And I figured today, since we were talking about this, I'm going to throw this, the Disgusting Act t-shirt. And I'm also going to put a photo or something up on the screen right about now that shows people the photo. And we'll throw a link in the description. We'd love it if you guys would help us out, buy the t-shirt. They're awesome t-shirts. And you're not going to find many people with one, so it'll definitely set you apart. And we get to
everyone's going to have one. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone that watches this show is going to have one, but you know, we're still growing as a show, so you know, a small population of Vikings fans will have them, and you'll be super cool, and we appreciate you. So anyway, sorry for that plug, but we gotta keep the lights on somehow. So we're moving on.
No.
Hey, you know what? Fine. Well, I don't have memory.
Come on!
I've never
fighter here.
Poor Austin.
My first time on the round table. I don't even know who the Vikings are. I don't know.
I'm sorry, man. I honestly, I don't know what happened there.
Our managing editor.
Yeah,
it skipped over.
I planned on wrapping it up, and then I just completely spaced. My bad, Austin. Go ahead, man.
I actually had the same memory as Sam, but I didn't even see the play. I was in the car listening to it on the radio, and it was one of those things where I heard what happened and I couldn't put it together in my mind. But I think it's a special memory for me just because my grandma, who's 94 now, has been a longtime Broncos fan. So it was so sweet to be able to rub that in her face, and it's not really a nice thing to say. But her and I,
it's a hilarious thing to say.
We've given each
I
other
like her family's style.
Now, we've given each other crap about football for as long as I can remember, whether I'm a kid, a teenager, nowadays. So that was a good memory. That's one that always sticks for me.
I can just see you next time we play the Broncos just getting in Grandma's face. She's 95 and just like...
I'll get in her face.
Oh, yeah. The Tim Tebow era was not fun for her, so...
Stephon
They made the playoffs. They won a playoff game.
Yeah.
That's a fun.
Everybody hated him for some reason, and they were 1-4 when he took over.
I don't think we have enough time to talk about that. We're already going to talk about one controversial quarterback on the show tonight, so let's leave it at that. Something else we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to talk a lot about it, is PFF, because somehow they just keep finding their way back into our news cycle. So they released a couple of tweets over the past few days that kind of stirred up the Vikings fan base a little bit. And so I wanted to bring them up, get your guys' opinion on them. The first one we're going to talk about is not necessarily a single tweet, but they put out an article with their top 50 players overall for the 2016 season. It's a great list. You go through it, you're scrolling down, and you realize pretty soon that there's not a single Viking anywhere on the list. So, PFF's coming out basically, saying they don't think anyone on the Vikings roster in 2016 was worthy of a spot on the top 50 list, according to them. And I wanted to see if you guys agree or disagree with that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we should run through the list. I could post it for you guys so you could see it really quick if you want to. But I kind of wanted to maybe also talk about, if you do think there should have been some Vikings on this list, where should they have been, and who would they have, supplanted if they were here? So I'm just going to drop you guys a link really quick so you can see it, just in case you want to look at it. But I don't know, Sean. What do you think about this, man? You feel any particular way about this, Sean?
We may have lost Sean momentarily.
We either lost him or he's very still right now.
He's very deep in thought. This is going well.
Really thinking about this one. All right, how about you, BJ? We'll leave Sean frozen there in time, and meanwhile,
I got it, John. No worries. I wasn't aware of this list's existence until about 45 seconds ago.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
yeah, I don't really care what they think. It's kind of what the NFL, same thing as the NFL Network Top 100. I mean, it is what it is. It's cool when your players are referenced or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, Devin McCourty at 49. We getting Sean?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna boot him. I think he was having some issues.
Devin McCourty at 49 is hilarious at this point in his career. I mean, let's see. Damon Harrison, nope. Juan Dort was not as good as he was last year as he was the year before. I mean, David Johnson at 15 is absurd. I mean, he's really good, but that's absurd.
Really?
That one didn't strike me as.
I think Calais Campbell at 22, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
BJ, you know what the problem with this list is? It's in the PFF bubble of we rank guys as he's a 99 or whatever, however they rank him.
Right.
We're not going to put any context into it of why have 2 defensive tackles at the top when there's a lot more value on, say, a quarterback or a running back. That's
Bosa at 13,
and Everson Griffin's on the list.
I didn't get
Xavier Rhodes should be on this list definitively, given that their stats, their advanced statistics stated that he was the most efficient tackler and the best at preventing catches, and also had like the second highest interception. So how, Pro Football Focus, does that guy not make the top 50?
I can answer that for you.
Okay, go ahead, Sam. Answer that.
I agree that it's silly, but this is the reason it doesn't really bug me is because I don't know that they're being like, they set out to go, let's put together a list of the top 50 players in the NFL. I think what they're doing is just aggregating their scores throughout the year when they have their guys watch the games and mark down this and this and this. They go, oh, who rated the best last year? So, yeah, we're definitely using their metric, but it doesn't equate. Like, I think if you were to look at objectively ranking the top 50 players in the NFL, something a little different would come out. They're just saying these guys are who performed best based on our metrics last year, I think.
And that's my question. Like, no one watches football like that. I'm not going to say he's the best player. Well, I don't want 4 defensive tackles on my team that are the best player. So
and that's why Aaron Donald's the number one. He's the guy they love.
Yeah, I don't even disagree with that.
In fairness, I actually kind of agree with that one.
He's a very good player. Very good player. But I remember Bosa, they just, with their pressures metric and everything, they ranked so high, so it doesn't surprise me.
What do you guys think about Geno Atkins being on this
list? Love it. Dude, he's so underrated.
Yeah.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He got hurt a while back.
Over a guy like Linval?
I think he missed 4. He's right there with Linval. I think Linval does more within a 4-3 defense, like in our system, because Geno Atkins needs... what the heck is that guy's name? That monster dude, Pico. He needs Pico next to him, heat up blockers in order for him to shed one tackler and get the quarterback. But in terms of pressure from the interior, nobody's better than Geno Atkins. That's who Sharif Floyd. That's who you would hope he could end up being somewhat. He could somewhat mirror at some point in his career.
Drew, are you okay right now, Drew?
It was like hot take. That's a hot take.
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if we were having like technical difficulties.
If that's the ceiling. That's like what you would hope for Sharif. I think that's pretty fair. The quick first, their style of pass rushing. I just think that when Sharif came out, that was Zimmer. No, Zimmer didn't pick him. You're right. Never mind.
It was 2013, the year before. There's a couple there that I don't get. There's I was just looking at the list. It was Eric Weddle over Harrison Smith.
And Landon Collins over Harrison Smith.
Cameron Jordan at 18. Cameron Jordan is one of the best defensive ends in the NFL.
His pressure percentage is out the roof. That's why he's on there. Brandon Graham is the one that I'm sure a bunch of people look at and are like, who the heck is this dude? But he absolutely warrants that position. Just to clear that one up, Brandon Graham is like the most unknown great player in the NFL.
Sure, but I just think it's a crime to put all these guys in, and then, like Brett said, put out these like graphics on Twitter, like Xavier Rhodes, the best shutdown corner, Everson Griffin, one of the best.
There's a difference.
Yeah. So
that's statistics. That's tracking stuff. I don't think they're measuring their grades by that. They just
what are their grades?
Their grades are partially based off of those metrics.
Their grades are history.
I did. I mean, I worked there for a week because I know how their scoring works. Like, I know that their metrics, their advanced stats go into the overall calculation for their number. Their figure.
So this is what I don't get, because I was looking at the numbers.
Might be more, but it did.
I was looking at the numbers beforehand, so let's just talk about Xavier Rhodes, okay? And this is kind of the part that was bugging me is it seems the lack of consistency kind of around the narrative surrounding these players. So let's start with Xavier Rhodes. So they had a tweet. It says Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes has allowed a 37.3 QB rating on throws into his coverage, best in the NFC. I think there was another one where they talked about some sort of percentage in man coverage, said he was the best in the NFL. Best cornerback defending post and corner routes in 2016, Xavier Rhodes. And I think there may even been a couple of other ones, but there were a few,
tackling efficiency.
But there were a couple tweets that specifically said Xavier Rhodes is the best in man coverage in the NFL, and quarterbacks have the lowest passer rating when they throw towards him. Yet, if you go to their scores and look at their scores, not only is Xavier Rhodes the 29th cornerback in the NFL according to their scores, which makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you sort it by their coverage score, Xavier Rhodes is still 28th by their coverage score. So I don't understand how you can put out, a barrage of tweets saying that he's the best corner in man coverage in the NFC or the NFL or whatever, and then still have him at 28th in coverage in your scores.
I think that we can explain how that happens.
I think we should ask. No, I just think we should ask one of those guys. Honestly,
I listened to Eric Eager talk about it on the Climbing the Pocket podcast. So I just, from what he said on Jason Brown's show, was that, like for example, the wide receiver, if he runs out and doesn't get a target, he gets docked a small amount of points because his job was to get open and get a target. But technically, his score goes down like 0.02 or something like that.
That's so infuriating.
Dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I'm simply explaining it. That's what Eager said on his show.
Messenger. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it either. I mean,
so how does that relate to corners?
I'm just saying that there's got to be a reverse effect to it. I mean, if Xavier Rhodes is in coverage and he gets targeted and they subjectively decide that they thought it was a catchable ball, but even if it was, let's say the guy dropped it. Like if a wide receiver drops a pass in Rhodes' coverage, he gets docked still because players should have. It
seems to me this has gotten out of hand.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's impossible to try to quantify every single player. I mean, it's going to be ridiculous no matter how you take it. So you got to look at this as a fun activity, and if your player shows up on the list, great. And if he didn't, you throw it on Mike Zimmer's pegboard.
What I like to do is I like to zero in on the stats and rankings that really fit my narrative, and I love to push those out there, and then I love to completely go off the rails on them for all the ones that don't fit my narrative, and then crucify them on YouTube. I mean, that's kind of what I just like to do personally, but yeah. So.
I am looking at their top 10 of this list, though, real quick. Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, Tom Brady, Julio Jones, Rodgers, Khalil Mack, Von Miller, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Luke Kuechly.
You can't argue with that, can you? You can't argue with that.
No. You could say that's the 10 best players in the NFL.
For what it's worth, that's their fan grading system. They also have a premium stats system that they only have available to their partners and then also the teams that they work with. And that system is considerably more intricate. Like instead of having like green means go as like a grade, they have like definitive like decimal points that separate players with like each individual category. I mean, we used to have it at Bleacher Report. Again, just something that
Sean, did you have any?
I don't know much about.
Did you have any thoughts on this, Sean? You kind of had some technical difficulties there when I kind of threw you the question to start off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all you guys covered, but I thought there was up to potentially 5 Vikings who could have made the list between Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes, Linval Joseph,
Everson.
Everson.
What do I have? Everson,
Neil Hunter,
Griffin,
Terrence Neumann.
BJ, let him finish.
Yeah, BJ.
Sorry.
and Daniil. Yep. But
Daniil was the last one?
yes,
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
it's a little early to judge him, but I think he's got the potential for sure.
I saw the guns on Instagram today, and I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully believe in the Daniil Hunter train.
Yeah, man.
He's
always had. He's always been
with
like
Anthony
that.
Barr turnaround season too. Could he be up there?
Well, he
absolutely.
definitely wasn't up there for 2016. I'd be curious to see if he would have been in their top 50 for 2015.
Well, I think he was like their second-ranked, third-ranked
He was
linebacker that year?
He was ranked
Yeah.
very highly in 2015.
Yeah.
I know
Number
that.
1. 4-3.
That's another player you have to look at too.
So here's another thing. Okay, so Harrison Smith is their 10th best safety, right? Which, come on, I mean, it's dumb.
Wrong.
It's wrong, okay? But then I found tweets from PFF talking about Harrison Smith and why he was the NFL's best safety from PFF. So it just seems like maybe there's a miscommunication between who's pushing out the tweets and then who's putting out the articles and their actual scores, but it just doesn't seem
They
to
go
make
back
sense.
and regrade. They
Yeah.
go back and regrade so that they put out their stats immediately once they get them done. They go back and redo them, and then those are the finalized stats. But you only saw the initial stats.
Right.
That's the explanation for that.
I would be interested to invite a member of their team on here and ask them these questions as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? And I'm not. I mean, I actually do like PFF, and I was saying it jokingly before, but I'm also kind of being honest because I do feel like I do that sometimes. Is when you find a stat that you like from them, you push it out there and you're really pumped about it, and then we kind of crucify them for when they say something negative about our team. So at least I can realize that and be up front with that. But
I guess an important question is too: are they less credible because of these findings?
is PFF less credible because of the findings I've just put out there?
Yes.
Well, I think their credibility is in doubt right now. Yeah, and I don't think it's because anything I've found. I'm not like some great detective or anything like that, but I think there's a question overall about whether or not the way they analyze players in sports is actually representative of what makes a player good, what makes a team good. I think maybe sometimes they focus in on things, they normalize all the stats, and then these guys get pushed up because of these stats to the top of the list. When really, when you watch the tape or when you watch them play every Sunday, you're just not seeing the same player they're seeing. So I don't know. BJ seems to have the inside scoop on a lot of the PFF stuff, so I might be pissing him off right now with my take on PFF. But that's okay, because guess what we're going to talk about next, guys? We're going to talk more about PFF. That was my next topic. Because they had the Vikings team defense ranked 17th in the NFL. And that one was also a head-scratcher. Per NFL.com, the Vikings were third overall defense, third against the pass. Obviously, against the run, they didn't do as well. They were 20th. Pro Football Reference had the Vikings defense ranked 6th overall. Yet, according to PFF, they're the 17th ranked defense in the NFL. Do you guys agree with that? Disagree with that? Drew, you're largely indifferent to this topic.
That's because I really don't care. Like, in the nicest way possible to say this, but I don't really care about what Pro Football Focus thinks. What their opinion is or how they grade things, whatever. It's not going to affect how I see something. So, obviously, I don't think the Vikings are the 17th ranked defense. I don't think Xavier Rhodes should be outside the top 50. But I think
that's how they see it, right?
Right, that's how they see it. And I think the Vikings defense last year, I see it quite a bit. And they had like 2 or 3 like really terrible games, which I guess you want to weigh them that way. That probably could have dropped them quite a bit in the defensive rankings, but I think when you overall look at it, they're at least a top 10 defense. But I don't know. That's all I have to say because Pro Football Focus, it's just one measurement to look at in a barrage of many different experts and analyses to look at. So
yeah, it's just a tool in our back pocket, and I don't know. It's fun to talk about sometimes. So I
would actually borderline agree with them on this one.
On the 17th ranked defense?
Yes, I think 17 is a little low, but I would put them in the teens. My method of grading football is about as polar opposite as you can get. I know nothing. I don't do any film work or any actual breakdowns of anything. But I just watched the games. And I think that their pass rush was garbage for 2/3 of the year. They started out tremendous, and then they just largely fell off. Their pass rush was non-existent for a lot of that second half. And their run defense wasn't that good. And I remember just beating my head against the wall on numerous Sundays saying, why is this defense giving up this much yardage and this many points?
Right. Yeah, I can see that. And I also think there were a number of injury issues that kind of screwed with the Vikings defense after week 5, week 6.
Brett, don't you think that third in terms of yards and allowing the least amount of big plays, that high ranking has to reconcile with Pro Football Focus to 17th? There's got to be a middle ground. I don't know how you can look at traditional stats like yards allowed and the Vikings are third, and then Pro Football Focus can watch the same game and go, no, they're 17th. They're the 17th bank. I feel like there's got to be some kind of mesh point that we're not hitting, and that's what frustrates me about it.
Yeah, they're 10th.
Yeah, right? They can't be 17th in terms of advanced statistics because it's those have to lead to some kind of results on the field, and if you're looking at things like yards, the Vikings are actually one of the better teams. So it just doesn't jive for me, and that gives me anxiety.
Yeah, and I think the Daily Norseman actually, I think, had a back and forth with Eric Eager on this topic, and they had an article about it. So head over to the Daily Norseman to check that out. It's a good article. But in the article, Eric Eager, he kind of describes the ranking process, and he said it starts with grading each player on each play in each game, then some math to normalize, and then figure out how much each action is worth. So I guess they take all those players, and I think it was either Sam or BJ was saying, they take the individual rankings from all these players, and then they normalize them, they average them out, and that's how they get their team rankings. So really their team rankings are just average of all the individual rankings, and I wonder if maybe that's the disconnect, right? Because you're looking at you're looking at a team sport, a team defense, as just individual players and their individual grades that you gave them. So, which
again makes almost no sense.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you just take the defense and apply your wizardry to that and just here are the stats? Because I guess that's not what they do. They just grade players. BJ, what do you think? You know the inside scoop.
No, I think you guys are just talking about the same thing over and over again. I just explained this twice on how this works.
You did not explain why they don't grade entire defenses or offense.
Wait, say that again?
So they're not grading a team defense. They're taking the aggregate of all the player grades on a team defense and combining those to come up with this.
No, they do both.
That's what Eric Eager said. I was quoting Eric Eager.
So maybe we're not talking about the same thing over and over again.
No, but they do have team defense, and they have it broken down into columns. They have run defense coverage, and they have man coverage and zone coverage. And then on top of that, they also have, I think, passing efficiency, and then something else.
Yeah,
but I think so they do absolutely the defense as a unit as well.
But I think those scores, BJ, that you just talked about in those columns are derived from the individual players in those categories.
I'm telling you that they're not, though, because I know that. That's what I'm saying.
How does the third-ranked passing defense end up 17?
Because the Colts game and the Packers game, if you take those two games out, the Vikings defense average yards per game not only goes up from number 6 to number 1. So there's your football reference increase. on Pro Football Focus, I think that it jumped up from like 17 to like 9 or something like that, with run defense being the major issue there. And like Sam said, their run defense was trash. It's absolutely accurate just to point that out, and I think that 20th ranked is generous for run defense, like run defense last year. And
well, that wasn't an opinion. That was off of the stats from NFL.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I agree with the stats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that one, but just, I mean, they have multiple different types of statistics. The ones that Eager's pointing out are that group of statistics, and they also have what's it called, charting statistics, or I can't remember, like player perform. I can't remember the word for it, but whatever. They count all the snaps, and every single time they're on the field, literally on the field for a successful play, you get some sort of point, like increase or decrease every single play. Every player is being affected.
Yeah.
But America, if you're interested in taking the fun out of the game of football, come talk BFF with us. We will do it for you.
Again, I don't agree with this at all. And the biggest thing, PFF itself doesn't piss me off. It's when people treat it as canon. That's always going to piss me off. If you told me that just Pro Football Ref was the canon to how to, rate player performance, I'd tell you to.
But
you're breaking up really bad right now. I think it's
I just didn't want. I was going to drop an F-bomb and I pulled it back. But it's, it's just you don't. There's not one set rule to bring player performance. I like PFF because I think it's really cool and it gives you an idea of how good or how bad a player is just from a general perspective. But if you don't watch the actual game, I mean, you don't know that Terrence was absolutely elite in coverage last year, but it doesn't really matter because he's only covering number 2, so his score should not match up even close to Patrick Peterson, for example. That's like the formula system to a T right there.
Yeah.
So, again, it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. And, I mean, I'm paying for it. Just we're looking at these stats because I think it's fun.
We all have our own individual accounts, BJ. That's how we're looking at these stats, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
We're not logging on to one?
No. Anyway, all right. Enough about PFF because BJ's getting super pissed off. And
I'm not mad.
He's gonna break the round table.
Oh, God.
You're gonna make me mad by telling me I'm mad. Like that's
BJ.
Calmer than you are.
You tell someone you're mad and you're not actually mad, you're gonna piss them off.
Dude, relax.
BJ, relax.
I am relaxed. This is how I talk. You guys listen to my podcast. I yell all the time. You guys know this. I mean,
can I add one thing about this whole thing, and can we get done with it? About Pro Football Focus and just never
Let's be done now.
Bring it back. The whole problem is they try and fit every single team into the same system, and I am sure there is some discrepancy between the teams that actually use Pro Football Focus to grade and the actual grades that we see. I'm sure that the teams who use it are applying it in different ways to scheme, to systems, to the things that we as fans don't see. So we can't reconcile the fact that Pro Football Focus's grades, are objective successes and failures when teams have their own measurements. I don't think it's worth the argument.
Sure.
Nope, it's not.
Cosign.
That's why we're not going to talk about it anymore or ever again. I'm sorry for bringing it up.
It's a sensitive topic.
Will you please forgive me, DJ?
It's not bringing up PFF all the time, Brett. It's real fired over here, man. Absolutely livid.
That's hilarious. That's why you're the favorite, man. That's why you're everyone's favorite.
Everyone loves the energy.
All right, bring in the energy once again. All right. We're going to talk about something else that BJ really loves, Case Keenum. This is going to be BJ's favorite roundtable ever.
You guys already know my take on Case Keenum. I don't even you guys can talk about that.
So Spielman did an interview, basically came out and said that the Keenum and Heineke battle for the number 2 quarterback spot. We should say number 3 because we all know number 2 is actually Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to be back by the time the season starts. So I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. No, but Spielman said number 2 is between Keenum and Heineke. They're neck and neck. I wanted to see if you guys have a preference on these two. Do you have a favorite to win this spot? Is there someone you want to win this spot?
No.
No one cares.
I want to see them play. the preseason and watch him at training camp, and then, I mean, I think he's doing the right thing by saying they're neck and neck, because they probably are.
And I know.
How much can you evaluate right now?
It's kind of even silly to bring it up, right? Because anything Rick Spielman says is basically, well, I don't want to say it's meaningless, because there's meaning in it.
It's fair, though. It's fair because, I think the fact that they did bring in a guy that's a veteran that has, he's not really he doesn't have a winning pedigree, but he has experience winning games with, like the Rams in the past have a really good defense, or the Texans. So, bringing in a veteran like that usually signals, okay, he's going to be the backup. It does say, okay, we're going to give Taylor Heineke a chance because he's been with the Vikings the last couple of years. He had an unfortunate injury last year. He's going to get his chance this year to make the roster and be Sam Bradford's backup. That's what I get from it, and I think it's fair that both of them are going to get an equal chance here to be that number 2 guy.
Do you have a preference?
Right now? Yeah, not really, I guess. I mean, it's super cliche and like lukewarm here, but I want to see him play. So,
I mean, how could you really have a preference? No one's seen Heineke play.
We've seen Heineke play
in preseason.
I have a preference.
Yeah.
I have a preference. I'm going to die on the Heineke hill, period.
Mackenzie Alexander looked great in preseason last year. I mean,
well, I know, but you said we haven't seen him play. We have seen
in
him
an NFL game that counts.
Oh, I know, but there's still things you can take away from the quarterback's preseason play.
There are. I just don't think they matter a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I know this is kind of a, and we're reaching for things to talk about here because we're like in the dry season of the off season right now.
Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't have brought it up. I'm saying that's my actual opinion on it, that I think it's foolish to form a strong opinion at this point, because unless you're BJ, who just hates Case Keenum almost as much as he hates Jeremiah Searles for some reason.
Almost as much
No, I mean, I've had this opinion of Heineke long before Keenum was even relevant in life. I've been holding on to this for 2 years. I covered him. I liked what I saw. I'm sticking my opinion. Period. I'm dying on the Heineke hill.
What do you like about him?
I absolutely love the fact that he went through 4 reads during his first start in the preseason out of Old Dominion when I wasn't even expecting for him to have any idea what to do once he dropped back. He was doing 3M 5-step drops. He went through progressions. He was hitting Thielen with regularity. That was when those two were hooking up. Teammate Stephon Diggs looked good. His passes were out in front and in a catchable position. He made his players better. That's what I saw. They won the game. They dominated that game. And Heineke won a roster spot because that's what Norv Turner and Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman thought. And that doesn't happen for undrafted quarterbacks. That says something to me in itself right there. So,
yeah.
Period. He's got the pedigree. He's got like the mental pedigree and like the persona of it. Then he kicked in the door and everyone's saying that they don't know anything about him. Guys, we know stuff about him.
Door kicker.
How do you
know that he kicks
Vikings
doors.
heading it to pick him up as an undrafted free agent? I watched his Old Dominion film. I watched his the 4 preseason games, and what you're looking for there is technique and stuff like that. They're getting on technique. It can translate. And
I think it's encouraging. I'm encouraged. And I'm excited to see more. I'm excited for him to not kick a door this year and hopefully get some reps in training camp. I'm just reminded of Tyler Thigpen.
In general?
What about him? I mean, that's not. I don't see why that's relevant.
Thigpen was the seventh rounder or undrafted. I can't remember. Came in. They tried to get him through the practice squad. Who the Chiefs picked him up. Somebody picked him up. He was. I remember saying or hearing a lot of the same things about Tyler Thigpen that I heard about Heineke once he made the roster the first time. We're excited. This is a quarterback who seems to have the it factor. He may not. I don't know. I want to hear what Sean thinks.
I really don't have an opinion. I'm not a Case Keenum guy. BJ kind of got me with his Heineke take, but I've heard good things from Heineke as far as running the scout team offense. But like you guys, I want to see him in action.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like what I was trying to say before, Sam, was I wasn't accusing you of saying this topic wasn't worth talking about, but I feel like it's kind of a bottom of the barrel topic, but it's interesting to me how quickly this could become a very real topic for the Vikings.
Very good point.
And we're talking about this right now, like who's going to win this job? They're the backup quarterback. given Sam Bradford's track record, there's a very real possibility, and the fact that Bridgewater likely will not be available this year, there's a very real possibility that one of these guys is.
Raise a question for you guys, real quick here. I just want to raise a question here on the same subject because I think this will kind of clue you into on why I think that preseason is relevant. Well, do you remember the moment that you kind of fell in love with Teddy Bridgewater as being like you felt like he was going to be the guy?
Was that Cardinals game?
Yeah, when he threw the game-winning touchdown to Rodney Smith in the back of the end zone week before the preseason, his rookie year. That's when most people fell in love with Teddy Bridgewater and felt like, okay, this guy can do it. Week 4 of the preseason, and that was when Teddy Fever started there.
He was also a first-round pick, and was
who cares about draft status? You're
draft status.
He
was going to be the guy. Matt Castle and Christian Ponder weren't going to be the guys.
That's fine, but like that. Just because Quan Treadwell was a first-round pick doesn't mean he deserves to be on the field before Stacey Coley this year if he can't figure out route depth.
No, I agree. I agree with that, but we're talking about a quarterback who they moved up.
Why does that matter? Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick.
Okay, all right. But here's what you're talking about, BJ. You were saying this is when people got excited about Teddy Bridgewater and fell in love with him, and I agree with Austin. People got excited about him when they watched him in college, and when they him in the first round.
I was trying to use myself as like trying to think back when I fell in love with him, and it was way before that game. So, but I don't think I'm a fair representation of the average fan, so I wasn't even going to put that out.
And I'm the same way. Mine was after. Mine was in the Broncos game.
Yeah.
In the regular season.
Okay, then my follow-up then is: did any watch Taylor Heineke in college?
No, or in the preseason. Nope. No.
So why? I just don't understand. Why is it acceptable to fall in love with Bridgewater's college career and think that he's going to be a good quarterback, and then kind of solidify that status when he hits the home run with Rodney Smith in that game winner? Why does that count? And Taylor Heineke's just unbelievable. Like he has everything working against him. He's an undrafted free agent quarterback. 3 guys in front of him at the 53.
But BJ, what you're talking about is the reason that Teddy Bridgewater was drafted in the first round. And Taylor Heineke wasn't. I mean, what you're trying to say is, why is what Teddy Bridgewater did in college better than Taylor Heineke? I mean,
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Maybe I'm misinterpreting.
I'm saying Taylor Heineke came in as we're going to cut this guy unless he proves to us that he's going to be on the 53. Teddy Bridgewater came in and he was going to be on the 53. It didn't matter. He could have kicked 4 doors in and broken all of his limbs, and he would have been on the 53.
Whoa. You don't talk about Teddy limbs.
So he comes in and proves himself to be the best backup third-string quarterback available from like 5 or 6 guys that were in that group. As an undrafted guy out of Old Dominion, which is trash competition, and he somehow proved that he can compete at the NFL level, convince coaches that he's smart enough to run through NFL play calls, understood the terminology. Like, I just don't understand why doesn't that matter? Like, why doesn't that count? You project based off of college careers and preseason performance.
But he hasn't proven anything yet.
From when did you get excited about
it? We're projecting here. That's the goal. The goal is to project based off previous performances. Why can't I do that with preseason and Old Dominion tape?
We can. It's not about
competition.
When do we get excited about him? If he's the best backup, he's the best backup.
Right.
I mean, we don't need his college production to know he's the best backup. He's with the Vikings for a reason, right? I mean,
I think you're proving my point right now, though.
I don't even know what the point is anymore.
I'm trying to tell you. You just get you're not listening. You're not like. I don't know if you're not hearing me. Like I'm speaking very loudly. I don't know what that's a problem.
That is true.
You're cutting out a little bit.
I simply do not understand why it's just absolutely outrageous for me to say. I think already that Heineke is better than Case Keenum based off of film that I've watched of him on Old Dominion.
I don't think anybody said that's outrageous.
No one said that's outrageous.
First of all, everyone says that.
Not one person here.
I'm speaking outwardly to everyone here because I am the only one that defends Taylor Heineke. The only one. Don't even try. Are you kidding me?
What do you mean? No one's dissed Taylor Heineke at all. No one's even said that they want Case Keenum to start over Taylor Heineke.
This is what I'm telling you right now is that when I'm saying that people give crap for Heineke, it may not be you five, but it's everyone else. I mean, who else has a Heineke take? Who else is willing to go, eat it if it's
That's your take. The only thing I ever give Heineke crap about is trying to kick a door in.
And I actually
an NFL roster.
The fact that they kept him around after the door kicking does say that they see promise.
I was going to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing.
No, I actually, to your point, I actually would prefer Heineke to be the backup. So I don't think anyone here.
I'm with you there.
Potential.
I don't think any. Yeah, and I think that's it. Really, I mean, we've seen what we've seen from Case Keenum. He's a middle of the road guy. I think Heineke has shown that he has upside. When he's played in the preseason, I like what I've seen from him, and so I'd be fine with him being the backup. I wanted him to be the backup last year.
I think if he had not kicked that door, he may have been starting last year.
would have been.
Oh yeah. After Bridgewater,
He definitively would have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean before Bridgewater, I wanted him to be the backup before the Bridgewater catastrophe. But I don't even know that we have enough time to talk about what my next thing was, and maybe that's a good thing because I was going to say, well, there's another option for backup QB, and then we were going to talk about Drew's Colin Kaepernick article.
Plug the link.
Yeah,
Drew, do you really want to really quick talk about your point, or?
I can summarize. I mean, there's enough material so far in this where we can probably edit quite a bit of it out because,
I don't
anyway.
edit any of this out.
Okay, well, that's fine too. I don't. That's your call. Colin Kaepernick. It makes too much sense from a football standpoint. He's got experience in the West Coast system. He's, you look at the way he's been playing. Last year threw 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Statistically ranked probably right around 20th, and you average out kind of all the advanced metrics that people like to measure quarterbacks by. And he gets this perception that he's an awful quarterback and he can't throw from the pocket, and all these things that they're not completely false, but they're definitely not true. What I've seen, spotty downfield accuracy and a tendency to hold on to the ball too long, a la Teddy in 2015. But yes, it is. Overall, he, from a football standpoint, and again, I understand people's, they have their own feelings towards Kaepernick and his actions and everything. I get that. But he makes so much sense. And he's an upgrade over Case Keenum. He's an upgrade over Taylor Heineke. Makes a lot of sense. I bring him in to be cheap, and he'd be much more reliable if, injury-prone Sam Bradford goes down.
Right. So your article obviously stirred up a lot of feelings because a lot of people really hate Kaepernick right now. We won't get into that. We won't get into what he did or anything like that. But I think your point was that if you remove all of that from the picture, he's obviously backup caliber, potentially even starter caliber for some NFL teams. And I think regardless of how you feel about the whole situation and what he did, most definitely, without a doubt, he's being blacklisted from the NFL right now.
And if we're giving Greg Hardy second chances,
right?
I mean, even Adrian.
Yeah, we could go on this for a long time if we go down that road. But I mean, it's so ridiculous. Like, come on, guys. I mean, what I really love is finding the guys on Twitter that are going off the rails on Colin Kaepernick. And then, my new best friend is Twitter Advanced Search. Like that's my favorite thing to do. And then, you search their Twitter profile, which is a totally stalker thing to do, by the way. And I'm not too proud of it. I can't believe I'm actually saying it right now. But you search it for, Greg Hardy or Joe Mixon or something like that, and they are they have these takes like, if the Vikings don't draft Joe Mixon with their second-round pick, I'm leaving the team and I'm going to root for someone else now. And it's just but you don't want anything to do with Colin Kaepernick, but you're welcoming Joe Mixon with open arms.
I saw that one.
That's old bro's tweet right there.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't saying any names.
Everyone else saw. Everyone saw it.
Wasn't saying any names.
The picture of a woman's breast
under.
But he's not the only one, and I think a lot of people have that same viewpoint. For some reason, they just.
For the record, I you guys know this. I wanted the Vikings to draft Mixon if he was there. You know, I wanted them to draft Mixon, and I had this thing. Football, from a football standpoint, that's my first lens that I see things through.
Yeah.
With Kaepernick and Mixon. I'm looking at this from a football perspective and what they're going to do on the field and how they're going to fit the team, on the field.
Yeah, I'm also not trashing Mixon. I'm just saying, like, the double standard is kind of just
I know. Yeah,
so obvious and so ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about a guy who took a political stance, or not even a political stance, 'cause I'm sure he probably didn't really see it that way, but took a stance on something he believed in, whether or not you agree or disagree with it. To blacklist him for that and then bring guys back like Greg Hardy, it's just it's ridiculous. What were you going to say, Drew?
I wasn't.
I'm sorry, BJ. I was looking at BJ. I said Drew.
That was me, but okay.
Oh, I thought BJ said something. Go ahead, Austin.
No, BJ, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just I don't care really to share my take, because if I talk about it, my voice is going to go up, and all of a sudden I'm going to be pissed off again. So Kaepernick simply doesn't fit the Vikings offense, in my opinion. I disagree with Drew on all counts there. We talked about it on the podcast. If you want to hear that, it's on that show. Kaepernick's I think he's a great dude. I think it says a lot about his leadership qualities, that he did stand up for what he believes in. So I like him in that regard as well. I think that he's an excellent quarterback, a top 25 guy that deserves to be on a roster. He's just not a fit in Minnesota. I think he's a great fit in Seattle or Buffalo. Guys with mobility quarterbacks and guys that aren't asked to do as much through their reads. Kaepernick is a one-read wonder, period. That's why he doesn't fit in Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job, BJ. You didn't get.
Great job.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
No, man, I think that was really good. I mean, it's not what I was expecting, the take that you actually appreciate what he did as far as his stance, but you really.
What were you expecting?
No, I guess I wasn't expecting you to be contrary to that. I guess I just wasn't expecting you to want to talk about it. So the fact that you brought that up, but then you said that you didn't think he was a
I don't
fit.
want to talk about stuff because every time I talk, I either have a time limit, I'm mad, or whatever it is. There's always a problem me talking, but then it's BJ, what do you think about this though?
And you add.
It's just how can I That's annoying. Period.
And then you add Kaepernick on top of it, the most controversial topic in
polarizing.
NFL right now. I mean,
right. Okay.
Several people have turned against me individually because I advocated for Colin Kaepernick to play on the Vikings, when I specifically, several times in the article, said this has nothing to do with my political beliefs or whatever.
Drew, I don't think you necessarily advocated for Colin Kaepernick. You just said it would make sense. I mean, that's two.
I advocated for him on the team.
It's two different things. I just don't think the Vikings would do it after going out and getting a starting caliber quarterback last year.
No, they won't.
Because Kaepernick, I mean, I've watched him play. I live in the Bay Area. I've seen him play for as long as he's been here. He's a good quarterback, but he's not great. I mean, no team's gonna drop money for him like they would Sam Bradford, and I don't necessarily think all of that is political. I mean, I respect.
And you made the point, Austin. I think it was last week. He got benched for playing Gabbert. I mean, he put up decent stats.
Gabbert's terrible too, but
that wasn't about on-field production. But go ahead.
No, that was about Chip Kelly trying to save his job. Let's be real here.
But I mean, he's had games where he's thrown 2 pick sixes, 4 interceptions. He's got his problems as a quarterback, and I think.
What about Lambeau Field though?
You what?
And what do we have to say about that? What about Lambeau Field? 2 times in a row, he went into Lambeau and smoked Packers in a position where he wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, what? I'm just saying, he threw 4 people. He has that moment too.
That's
my point here.
I was trying to make the point that he's got his issues as a quarterback, but I don't think that is the main issue that a lot of teams have. I think the NFL is political, and if someone does something like Colin Kaepernick did, starting a movement with kneeling during the national anthem, there's conservative owners out there who are going to say, you know what, I don't need that distraction, and I don't agree with that.
That's not the point anybody's making.
I know you're not. I'm saying I don't see why the Vikings wouldn't consider a guy like that. We talked about someone like Alshon Jeffrey. Why would the Vikings go after Alshon Jeffrey in free agency? Well, if there's a good player on the market, you go after him. I'm kind of going off topic here, but I'm just trying to make the point that Colin Kaepernick's a good football player. I agree with you, Drew, that he should be somewhere in the NFL, and I agree with you, Brett, that he's getting blackballed by the NFL. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Austin. I mean, I think what it comes down to is the owners have to weigh the upside of what he brings from an on the field perspective versus the baggage that he's going to bring with the off the field stuff. And I think each team just weighs that and they make a decision based on that. And it's unfortunate, but that's the business side of the NFL. And you know, when you take a stance on something, unfortunately, that's also part of the risk that's inherent to that sort of thing. So
the same could be said about Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Is he worth the baggage? No, absolutely. And they've decided he's not. And what they're weighing right now is, because they're considering Kaepernick a backup, is a backup quarterback worth all the extra attention and potential distraction you're going to get? And I would agree that I can't fault them for saying no, even though I would advocate Drew's position of the Vikings signing him, because the backup quarterback, as Brett brought up earlier, could become a very, very important position on this team.
Yeah.
So why not take a chance for it?
So there's way more talk about it on the about the labor podcast, right, Drew? You and BJ dive into this pretty deeply, so go check that out if you have some time. That's going to do it today. We just hit the hour mark, so thanks for sticking with us. I promise we won't bring up PFF again unless it's a positive statistic that we're going to use to further our particular viewpoint on something Vikings related. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like, subscribe, and give us a comment. We reply to every comment and hope to hear from you. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
You guys.
All right. Bye.